Okay. All right. See if I can hear my sound. Again, family, just sound testing. Give me a moment. Waiting for it to catch up on YouTube. Let's see. All right. Again, family, just sound testing. Okay, I'm feeding back. That's what I don't want. Waiting for it to catch up on YouTube. See if I'm still feeding back. I don't know if that helps. Don't know. Might still be feeding back a little bit. See something. I don't know if that helps. Yeah, it looks like that's better. Might still be feeding back a little bit. Nope, looks like we good. Not feeding back as much anymore. So I think that's good. All right. Just waiting to see if we get more people. It's definitely a different time that I'm streaming. Most people are on here earlier in the day, so it's all right. We're going to make it do what it do, and people can catch up later if they want. What's going on, peoples? Feel free to say what's up when you come in. Let me know if the sound is good on y'all end, if the music's too loud. Let me know. I'll adjust that. My mic was feeding back earlier, but it should be good now. So let me know. Now we on here live today. In case y'all didn't know, those who are following George Macon, my partner with Urban Nerds, there was unfortunately a shooting in West Philly again. I believe it was yesterday. But yeah, he just happened to be in the right place at the right time to kind of address it with the news people and one of our political figures over in Philadelphia, let them know what was going on. And he decided to, give a little shout out and talk about what's going on in the neighborhood. I do have the video here for you guys to check out. I'm just waiting for a few people to come in who might just be aware that I'm live so that you guys can see it. And as always, as long as there's no issues, then the video will be here later on for those to play catch up. So that's all we're waiting for. If y'all in the chat, let me know how y'all doing. Let me know how the day is going. As always, peace to the peoples out there. But yes, and for those of you who may not know, who might be following, because I'm usually on here with Dr. Inky or talking about things related to health. For those who didn't know, me and my partner George Macon, we have a nonprofit in the Philadelphia area currently called Urban Nerds Worldwide, where we take groups of children from basically inner city neighborhoods and we expose them to the greater world, so to speak, but it generally concerns things like science, technology, engineering, and math, because these are the things that run all of the things we love about the world that we live in, whether it be video gaming, sports, entertainment on TV, even a lot of the technology we use. So we want to make sure that younger children have exposure to these things when they're young, because a lot of the times the things that go on the street start because of things as simple as they don't have the ability to eat, they can't dress a certain way, they get teased in school, the parents might be struggling, and money, it tends to be their way out. So children tend to be able to comprehend very high level things early on if you expose them to it, so that they have a lot of options to choose from. And a lot of the times, with the very smart ones and the ones who get involved in things they love, they have the ability to actually build an income and a life for themselves while they're still young. Like, it doesn't necessarily require them to be out of school. All they need is exposure, a good support system, and talent. Talent by way of knowledge, skills, or just a natural talent. But either way, the child having exposure and support puts them in positions where they can compete in the society in such a way where they help build and develop and help their community, instead of being put in positions based on society's, predispositions that kind of help tear their community down, all because they're trying to find a way to fit in. So we can't expect our children to have the mind of an adult. I know we want to say it's as simple as a decision, or they shouldn't have did that, or it's harming this person or that person. When the poverty hits hard enough, people try and find slick ways to take care of themselves, and those slick ways tend to turn into bigger forms of trouble later on. And that's a simple way of saying what a lot of the danger and the criminal activity you see in the urban neighborhoods comes from. It's literally the right things are just not there at the right time when they're younger, and this poses a bit of a problem. So this is where we decided to step in with Urban Nerds Worldwide, and as my partner George would say, it is a very good idea, and we are doing our thing, but we don't know if it's the answer to our problems until we're standing on the side of it that shows that we've solved the problem, or at least done a huge amount about it. So we look to the community for support, yes, but at the same time, we started this journey close to when COVID came along. And even with that going on, we were able to take groups of around 16, 17, even with parents and stuff, to different endeavors like the Ziax Institute up in New York, the Smithsonian African American Museum down in D.C., the Blacks and Wax Museum in Baltimore, I believe. I believe it's in Baltimore. The Franklin Institute in Philadelphia, and the Academy of Natural Sciences. And of course, basketball, little, fun stuff like basketball, movie theaters, and things like that. And these are things that we did under our belt with, in some of the cases, help with donations from, our YouTube community, our local community in the hood, and also out of pocket. So these are things that we were able to put together with limited resources. So you can imagine what happens if we start to have greater exposure, right? That's right, Z. We got to start somewhere, and we just keep it going. And we are hoping once we get our resources in order, meaning our structure, so to speak, that if we put it out to the people, because remember, this is Urban Nerds Worldwide, it will be up to you, or those of us out there who believe in this type of endeavor, to naturally latch yourselves onto it. I get donations help a lot, but it doesn't only require donations. You just have to be the type of person who, wear the swag. If you're doing something that helps and builds your community, wear it too. Especially the classic logo, because you guys know we got quite a few different designs. If you look at the, if I swing on over to the website, you guys can see here, and I click on this area right here, lit up green, the swag shop, you'll see we got plenty of designs. But I always suggest that people, at the very least, if we come down here, I suggest you guys have the classic logo to start. Okay, because the classic logo it's got the original name. It's what's going to unify us. It's what's going to make people around the world say, I keep seeing that logo. What is it about? And generally the people who ask about the logo are the people who feel like, they tend to look at things as if they really want change. So I don't care if you're the great, if you're excellent with HVAC, gardening, you're excellent at training for sports. We do get a lot of hit ups from people who are good at coding. They own coding camps. If you can build with technology, if you can teach technology, any way that you and your community offers help to your community. Now remember, you can contact us and link up, but just wearing the gear and exposing yourselves to us and letting us promote you shows the connection. Because there can be an internal business-like connection and there can be an extended family connection. So just you doing what you do and representing with the gear on is enough to keep it going. Because there's a chance that there may not be, we might find out in the local community it's not a lot of money, but it's a lot of support. And when there's a lot of support and a lot of visibility, those who have the money start to come along because they say, look, I see you guys everywhere. What do you need? I have money. The people with a lot of money might come along. So it doesn't lay a bunch of money on the backs of people who don't have a lot, but people donate what they can. But if really what our communities need is a large chunk of money, we need to represent ourselves wide enough for people who have the money to see us, to feel like it's worth their time. Okay, so if that makes sense. Brennan in the building, what's going on? All right, so if that makes sense, let's play our video. I'm gonna mute my mic, and I believe the sound should come through. Hold on, let me light up the desktop real quick. And let's get it popping. Let's catch you guys up.
New surveillance video shows police chasing down suspects after a shooting that wounded 5 people outside of a Philadelphia rec center. Nearly 100 shots were fired outside Shepherd Rec Center right as children were playing.
Turn
It
your
is
volumes
Wednesday
up if you
afternoon.
need to,
I'm
too,
Sarah
people.
Bloomquist.
And I'm Brian Taft. The big story on Action News today is that heinous act of violence that played out in West Philadelphia last night. Again, all of it in front of children. 2 of the 5 victims are right now in critical condition.
You can see the white SUV there turn the corner at Haverford Avenue and Farson Street, where it crashed as police moved in to make 3 arrests. Just outside the Shepherd Recreation Center in West Philadelphia yesterday evening. Witnesses say there were dozens of children playing there at the time.
Yeah,
In
the
the
beginning
end,
of this
5
video
people
is
were
explaining
shot.
what
The victims
happened.
are between 17 and 25 years of age. 2 of them are critically wounded.
Gunshots.
Now there's George Macon. That's the basically he's the one who came up with the idea of urban
but it's not something that's normal.
And it's a failure of mine, and it's a failure of government in general, which is that what we don't have up here are some of the incredibly important people in the community who are doing work on the ground every day that makes such a difference. They are being erased in this process, and I'm going to have to go off script for a minute. TJ, get up here.
TJ is
Yeah,
George's
get your
son,
dad up here.
Thomas.
Come on, let's go. Where is Kazar? Come on, Kazar. Come on up. All right, well, I'm not going to give you guys microphones, but I want to give you credit. Come on up here. No, not at this time. Hold on, sir. So, listen, I want to make sure that you understand that some of the people up here do incredibly important work every day. They do it for free. They do it in a way that government cannot do it. Kazar is irreplaceable. This young man and his pop are wearing the name of a 501c3 they operate. Urban nerds, not urban shooters. Feel free to interview them after we are done today. Feel free to hear what they have to say. And what they have to say is that it's all about young people being smart and making smart choices, and those smart choices steer them away from gun violence. And I'm very grateful for the work that I see every day being done in the community by people who deserve our support and who really get it done.
All right, so there you guys have it. So after the shootings yesterday, the news stations and things came out, and they bring people out to make statements on everything. So you can see that George Macon and his son, who he always keeps alongside him as he does the things that an adult should do for their community. He keeps his son beside him even when his son makes mistakes. He talks about him. He talks about him with his son. He lets the community know what's going on. So of course, that's somebody that you would want as a representative of your community, because what we have to understand is it's It's an imperfect world, an imperfect community, and we are not perfect people. But because we are not perfect people does not mean that people cannot use support, because it's impossible. We're not going to have a world where everyone sees morality and agreement the exact same way. But by continuously communicating with one another, communicating within our communities, and understanding the differences between one another, give us a reason to understand when to use and be around and support one another. So we have to support each other for what we do best, and feel free to speak up for the things that we feel we can do better. That's what makes us a stronger community. So Brother George is doing what he can do. Now, what I do know in general, I know George really puts a lot of work into the street aspects of things. In the social media world, a lot of the positivity in the community doesn't get the attention that the dramatic stuff gets. Like, a lot of people have a lot of words and a lot of info and a lot of attention for drama, but they don't have the same when it comes to positive things. So be it. I understand it's not very entertaining to people. When you do what's right, it's what's expected. When you do what's wrong, to most people, it's a shock and a surprise, and they want to know what's going on. That's just the world we live in. Hopefully we can figure out a way to make things, the things that are more positive and the things we need to know in terms of information and all that, hopefully we can make it, in some form of way more entertaining, so to speak, so that people will pay more attention to it. That's the way it is. We live in a TikTok world where entertainment is microwaved and it's quick. So when you really have something to say that's important and you need people to give their attention, it won't work without the same level of entertainment in today's world, or some type of charismatic spark that, random people may tend to have. That's just the way it is, and that's okay, to an extent, right? But yeah, I wanted to make sure that you guys got to see that video. That's actually, if you go to the George Macon Experience page, that's George Macon's page. That's where he does all the personal stuff. We do have the Urban Nerds Worldwide YouTube page. Haven't thrown any new stuff up there in a while. I'll probably download this video and make sure I put it on that page. And the main reason has been because for the time that we're not on that page is because we're spending a lot of time trying to develop a groundwork, so to speak, for Urban Nerds Worldwide. It's not something that we can just push extra hard and then get a giant response, and at the same time not have the infrastructure to deal with the response. Because we get a lot of, and many of you who may watch this video know, you might have done it, but we get a lot of emails, we get a lot of messages on like Instagram and stuff like that with people wanting to help, but we don't have anyone to field and do paperwork and do all that stuff. So in the meanwhile, the message I always push is, if you have something to offer, at the very least, support the gear that you see on the website like I have on the screen right now, because when you support that, the money that goes to buying the swag actually moves towards the nonprofit. We also have a GoFundMe page set up. At GoFundMe, you guys can go to the search box and type in Urban Nerds Worldwide, and you'll be able to make a GoFundMe donation there. So those are things if you want to make a donation for infrastructure, while at the same time, if you have a skill and you just want to help, trust me, swag out. Make sure you get the basic logo first, then get the other swag. And let me show you again. Let me back up. Show you the other types of stuff we offer. Like you guys might see in the thumbnail photo at the beginning. You guys might notice that we have the gamer shirts, and we got hoodies and all that stuff. It's going to start getting cold again soon. We got chameleon colors, and we even got the whole character on there. We have all these different things, even the Urban Nerds gamer shirt, which I tried to make sure the logo is still uniform with the other uniform. If you have children who like the video game world, I'm one of the people who instruct them. There are ways to stream and make money. Even if they play older games, there's people who make tons of money just playing old school Mario Brothers games. So there's ways that they can be exposed to the greater world, even in the areas that they seem to only care about, that you may not want them to spend too much time doing. But if it's what they do, there is a support system there too. I've taught some of the Urban Nerds kids how to shoot videos, a little bit about video editing, a little bit about photography. We're definitely going to be doing a swag gear photo shoot some point in the future. Just connecting as much as we can on the level we're on. And even though we can't create a giant infrastructure and bring a bunch of people in yet as a part of direct paperwork communications, even though we can't do that yet, you still can be connected, because again, you can just rock the swag, and if you're doing something positive for your community, do it get some video, show what's going on, send it to me. If those of you who don't know how to do that yet, and you have a Google account, go to your Google email account, and on the top right, there are 9 dots. One of those dots, if you click on it, is Google Drive. And if I'm echoing, let me turn this off. All right, and one of them is Google Drive. So you click on Google Drive, and then you just take the video you uploaded, perhaps from your phone, and drag it into there. Then once the video uploads, you can right-click on it and share it. When you share it, just share it with urbannerdsworldwide@gmail.com or urbannerdsfoundation@gmail.com. And then if you want, you can drop me the message on Instagram @urbannerdsworldwide. And then I'll know the video's there. I can pull it off, and then I could dress it up a little bit and show people what's going on worldwide. And that's a way we can start making ourselves worldwide, even with limited resources, because each person is just taking the power they have as an individual and showing that it exists within the world. Otherwise, you're just going to let the world be overrun and saturated with the things you really don't want to see on a regular basis. So whatever shows up in the media and on YouTube, social media pages and all that, the more those things saturate over the positive stuff, that's the mentality that the children growing up are going to have. So we need to saturate the social media pages with fun and positive stuff from multiple locations around the world, so that people can know when they see this, when they go to different states, counties, towns, countries, that there are people who think like them or who want the same from around the world. Okay? Hopefully that all makes sense. Let's see what y'all saying over here in the chat. Yeah, department stores are great to partner with, but keep in mind, it's paperwork. It can be political. Businesses tend to connect because they want to look a certain way. So keep that part in mind. Sometimes they do genuinely want to help, especially on a low level. Sometimes they'll just cut a check because the number's not big enough. So there's a certain amount of money they could just, throw off, or they can hang your banner in there and do commercials and put your name in it. They can do those things, but sometimes they require a certain look in the beginning. Change your website to look like this. Go meet with this person. Have this many years of your own service to the community under your belt. It can be political when you try and go the so-called correct way, so to speak, right? Or sometimes they might want you to link up with a more popular nonprofit, which in some cases we don't want to do because we want to have our own identity before we do that. But, so that people don't get confused and think that, we are them, right? We need people to understand we are our own entity. We have our own idea on how we want to help. And when we talk to people, just individuals, about what's going on with Urban Nerds, the one things they love about us is they say the children can look at us and feel like they can relate. It's not a program where they're filling out a bunch of documents and, we're going to put you in a class with a bunch of people you don't know, learning a bunch of information you think is going to be boring. Like, they have a mentality about these things before they get into them just because of how the program is presented. And we have a way of showing ourselves being a bit swaggier, so to speak. That's why we have Nerd Swag as one of our logos. We are a bit swaggier. We're a bit more down to earth. Like, the way I talk to you guys, the way my personality is in real life, the way I am on here, that's the way I am with them. I'll never forget Holistic Rudy in the building, Amber Glow, Barbara Saunders. Forgot to say hi to y'all. What's going on? I had one child say to me one time on one of our trips, they were like, man, because they had been on a few trips I was on a few trips with them, and they were like, man, you never lose your cool. And I'm like, well, what's the point? I was like, y'all are out here with us, enjoying yourselves, trying to have fun. Yeah, we get into things, don't touch this, don't touch that. But I was like, I'm just happy y'all coming out, y'all are experiencing. And I was like, and I was a child like y'all once too. I was like, so when y'all want to eat certain types of food and leap and run around and have a bunch of fun, I don't mind y'all doing that. But at the same time, I like talking to y'all and giving you kind of an ultimatum, so to speak, not to say definitely do this or definitely do that, but I'm talking to y'all now as the chat, but what I'm trying to do with the children is I'm trying to let them know this is what's on the table. This is the thing that you love that you see on TV, you know, gold, jewelry, food, clothing, video games, freedom, all those things you see. I'm trying to show you ways where you can get these things now. And when you do, those things you're telling me that you kind of want right now, the things they see in their neighborhood, right? They want to play certain types of music. They want to dress a certain way. They want to ask their parents for video games and trips and things like that. And I'm showing you that if you pay attention to what I show you, you can create those avenues on your own. Now, beyond me telling them that, it's up to me to make it look good. Because think about it. When someone teaches kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they're not talking to the children like I'm talking to y'all on this chat. They're talking in song. The children look at cartoons where they're real animated. So what makes you think you're going to change the neighborhood and the mind of your child if the world shows them that everything is animated and fun and glitz and glamour and all nice looking and entertaining, and then you come with the dry cut? Because I know, based on doing graphic design and video and things like that, people pay more attention when your content appeases more senses. So if there's music, you're talking up and down in your rhythm, you're showing a little bit of life, a little bit of personality, right? If you're wearing a certain type of clothing that draws attention, you got lights and glittery things in the background. Like, look, some things I haven't even used yet, right? See this? I don't think it's showing right on the camera, but it has when I tap this, it turns different colors, like little cool stuff like this. If y'all ever watch Blackmagic 363, Rich used to have things like this on his wall in the background. So these are the little things like that make things pop and make the children want to pay attention. So we have to take that into account when we teach them. And we can make the information obviously less childlike and more sophisticated as they get older, but don't lose the edge of personality because you're just trying to be so politically correct in the way things are done. I'm not saying you got to curse. I'm not saying you got to do anything wacky and crazy, but you should show personality because kids can detect inauthenticity, especially in today's world. Moon Rocker's in the building. What's going on? But that's what I wanted to bring this video for. I want to show people that the world moves in a certain direction. If you don't adjust, you have to first start by saying, this is what it is right now. This is where we want to get it. We can't force people who think this way to immediately change to this way. So if you consider yourself either the smarter or the wiser or the ones who are the elders who have to consult the young people, you don't have that old world where it's like, you young people need to sit down and just listen to me because I'm an elder and pay attention and do what's right. That don't work anymore. It's all about personality. What do you have that draws their attention? Why? Because the same music and crime you say they shouldn't do, well, the people who make the music off of talking about crime dress a certain way and get awarded on TV, and you watch the shows talking about you're happy they got an award and look how nice they dress. So when the children see that, then they go to school and see other kids getting praised for how they dress and how they do what they see on TV and on TikTok and Instagram and, you know, whatever. Then what do you think the child is going to be more amped to copy? So you create the environment and the atmosphere, surround it with the energy to make it look good to them, and they start moving in that direction. A stern talking to is not always going to be enough. That's right, Moon Rocker. They can detect inauthenticity. And a lot of times when they do, they learn from their parents that they can't just say that to their parents, right? So once they feel like there's boundaries between them and their parents, which is an argument unto itself. Like, you get parents who say your child is not your friend, you're their parent, right? And you got to deal with that whole thing. But there's a balancing act, right? Your child wants to be a certain way, wants to express themselves about it, but their curiosities are usually denied by their parents. So if that happens enough, the only person they're going to explain their curiosities to are the people who seem to be more accepting of it. The key is not to get the kid to validate them to do things that are wrong. The key is to get them to open up so you can offer options about what they're trying to do, because they're going to make a move on their own anyway. You can say beatings, punishment, all you want. If the child is curious enough, they're going to move down that path with or without you. But by giving them sound information and experience and wisdom and the answering of questions authentically, that's what's going to make them think a little bit more before they act. It's not necessarily how you react after they do something wrong. Because what if they do something bad, right? They do get involved in drugs. And then you find out and you punish them. But then they start weighing and measuring the positives of the drug game versus what's going on at home. Are you broke at home? Do you tell them no a lot to things they want, but they see you celebrate it when you look at the award shows and news and music? And then they hear their friends say their parents listen to it and praise it, and then their parents dress them a certain way. You got this comparison thing that's eating away at them. And it's going to always force them to go in a direction you may not want them to. So now, George has a child. I don't have a child, but I was once a child. So I'm only speaking from the perspective of once being a child and observing other people with children. So there are those who will enlighten me as to how difficult it is when you actually have a child. And there are those who may say, you know what, you make a good point. That's going to happen. But I have a platform and I'm just speaking my mind, right? So it's up to people to make their decision on what it is that they want to do. And we just hope that it turns out the way that makes the community better, so to speak, right? Yeah, they live in a high life while they have the kids living wild. But then you remember, there's a little bit of everything in the world. There are parents who still live like they're young. They club, drink, talk candidly to their children. Children doing fine. I met one parent who was like, yeah, my child talks to me about the sex they have and all that stuff like that. We talk about it. Everything's open, right? And they like, but here we are years later. Child's got their own house, car. They're making over $80,000 a year doing something that they love. How can you really, at that point, you can no longer have that cookie cutter story about how to raise a child, because this person is a parent, but they found a way to connect with their child totally candid. This child still turned out great. Another person's child down the street tried to do the same thing. Child ran off loose and did whatever they wanted, and life is harder. What can you say? The only thing that balances the pot is to have enough options surrounding the child where they can self-measure what's bringing the best out of that community. And by having a more unified community, it actually takes the pressure off you, because more people start to see why they need to agree with one another in very critical aspects of life. Which teachers should be there? Which ones are talking to the children the wrong way? Who's misrepresenting the community and causing problems? And how connected are you with them? Are you too scared to go talk to them? Because maybe it's drugs and guns involved and you don't want to be the snitch and all that? Well, you got a decision to make. Yep, two kids can come from the exact same household and be exact opposites. I was talking with some family members and some friends, and it's funny, I always talk to the ones who have 3 or more children. And I notice, at least in my circle, it seemed like their children all come out with different parts of their personality. The most level-headed one and extremely moral, regardless of how tough or fun or whatever they are, is usually the first child. The second child, most people see as the middle child. They're usually the ones who are talented but have a bit of a rebellious streak in them. I'm talking generalities here, right? The third one seems to be the most understanding. So it can play out differently for different parents, but the one thing that is definitely common is the thing that a part of your personality, right, that might be a headache to other people, your child gives that as a headache to you. You start to see yourself in your children if you pay attention close enough. If the child's real rebellious and stubborn, you might find that you are too. And you're mad at it because you're seeing yourself in them. So sometimes you see these things. You just have to respect the type of personality the child has and tailor the learning experience to that child. The ones who don't talk much are usually the introvert observers. You try and get them to speak and communicate, and they don't. You're kind of stuck letting them go at their own pace, but they tend to be very moral. They don't usually clam up like that and then get into like really crazy things in the world because they're not social enough to really be exposed to it or to care to want to be in those circles. It's too much pressure. Then you get the extroverts who have a greater chance of being exposed to more different opportunities and people. But if it's not spread out enough, the opportunities and the exposure, then they get exposed to a bunch of negative options. So then the question becomes, which side pulls harder than the other? Does the negative experience or the stern talking to from the parents hold on more? We don't know. So by tailoring your teaching and your learning and your ability to open up to your children, you invite a greater chance of getting it right. Because remember, it's not the village mentality right now for most people. So it's you versus however many children in their schools and in their neighborhoods from the moment you move into that neighborhood till the moment they get out of school. You're going against all of that. So don't just blame yourself if the child doesn't come out perfect. You don't have enough pressures really working in your favor. You just have the more prominent one because you catch them from, hopefully anyway, you catch them from birth until they start going to school. So that's your moment to lock certain cultural values into them and hope it holds against the rest of the world once they get exposed. Those with a greater community, the child is constantly getting bombarded with principles and cultures of your internal family, which increases the chances of them being successful because of the high amount of exposure, someone always around, which means there's less time to be around things that are negative, right? Barbara, go ahead and do your thing. Thanks for coming through. Yep. But yeah, that's what I have for now. I didn't want this to be a very long live stream. I wanted you guys to keep up, catch up, see what's going on with Urban Nerds Worldwide. Remember, imperfect community, imperfect people. You're not going to be able to surround yourself with just what you like. You could, but that's not realistic. You're going to wind up with an unrealistic view of the world. You don't have to like everybody you're around, but it's best to understand those who are around you. So when the time comes when you need what that person is good at, you have access to them. But cutting off everyone because they don't look and do it the way you do it, even though they do it well, I mean, that's up to you. Me personally, I bring people in for what they're good at. Anything else they decide to get into, that's totally up to them. I don't have to be like them. But I can understand where they're good at things and things that are controversial that they do that other people may not like. That's going to happen. That's the world we live in. Some people are controversial and they have a huge following of people who love it. There are some people who don't like controversial figures. There are some people who think the non-controversial figures are not entertaining enough or strong enough to lead. That's going to be a perspective too. That's just the world we live in. So it's better to just understand what people are good at, support them for that thing, and let the community offer suggestions and pressures to help correct the areas that are not so perfect. It's in unification that we strengthen the areas that are weak, but it's also in communication that we strengthen even more the things that we got right. Okay. So until next time, thank you guys for coming out. I'm gonna get off of here because I'm down here. I'm in the conferences and training and all kinds of stuff down here in ATL. So I don't want to spend too much time on here because I need a lot of my energy for those long days that I have. So thank you guys for coming out. Thanks for supporting Urban Nerds Worldwide. Don't forget, go to urbannerdsworldwide.com. You guys can swing over, click right here on the swag shop in the screen above me, right? See the lit up swag shop? So go to urbannerdsworldwide.com, click on the swag shop, and here is the swag down here. Purchase you a little something. Remember, like I said, grab you a classic logo first if you are one who represents your community and really want to connect with Urban Nerds Worldwide and let people know we are truly out here, because we, at me and George, we doing what we got to do, and those who support us are doing what they got to do. So feel free to join up and do exactly the same thing. Let me see, do I think I can do a video about frequency and the ability of the vocal cords to project them? Actually, the funny thing is, my photography experience extends into watching speakers and musicians get trained to project. So actually, yes, I can. Photography exposes me to a lot of stuff, and I'm a naturally curious person. So there's a lot of information I can give. I'm in the art world, I can give you all the way to the deepest ends. And in the health world, I can go pretty far. A lot of other stuff, my job is to bring you the info, make it easy to understand so you're at least clear-headed enough to say, I'm willing to travel down that path because I know enough to know kind of what I'm getting myself into and what the end game is. So I'm good for doing that, prepping people for the other more complicated things. But in that, I'm an artist, so I'm around a lot of musicians, dancers, actors. I'm around these things. So yes, I do have information that I can do video on about that. All right. Yeah, thanks for coming out, Moon Rocka. Good question, Brendan. Yes, I will be able to do that. I'll plan that out while I'm down here. I'll be down here for a little bit, so I'll do that. I see Tyreek stepped in the building. What's good, Tyreek, if you're still there? But all right, guys, until